Okay, fifth graders, so your homework tonight is where you're changing your improper fraction to a mixed number. So if we look at their example, you can see that they were looking at the denominator 5 and realized 5 out of 5 made one whole. So if you subtract 5 out of 5, you have 1 left, and you keep your denominator 5, but now your 3 became 1 bigger because you took a whole out, so 3 became 4. This one, we can say this 16 divided by 8, or we could say how many 8s can we take out of that 16, and we know that it would be 2. 9 and 5/3, if we take 3 out of 3 out, because our denominator is 3, so 3 out of 3 makes 1 whole, then our 9 becomes a 10, and after we take 3 out, we've got 2 left over, so 10 and 2/3 for that one. Again, we've got our improper fraction. If our denominator is 5, 5 out of 5 will make a whole, so our 1 becomes a 2, and after I subtract 5 from there, I have 2 left over, so 2 and 2/5. 4 and 6/4. If I look at my denominator of 4, 4 out of 4 will make a whole, so I can make this whole number 4 into a 5. And then if I subtract 4, I have 2 left over, so 5 and 2/4, but I can reduce that to even a smaller number, and I can call this instead 5 and 1/2. 5 and 10/6, same thing, 6 out of 6 will make a whole, so we have 6 whole numbers then. And if I subtract 6, I have 4 left over, so 6 and 4/6. This is one where I'm going to want to reduce it. I can divide both of them by 2 over 2, and if I do so, I get 6 and 2/3. Now on this, we're actually doing some of that adding, so write each sum as a whole number or a mixed number in simplest form, so we're going to need to reduce. I like to stack them. I prefer them stacked. I think they're a little bit easier to work with when I stack them this way. So I'm just going to rewrite 2 and 3/4. Oh, actually that one has a common denominator, so it's not quite as difficult. In fact, it looks like they all have common denominators tonight. Oh, that makes it so much easier. Alright, so let's just solve it now that your teacher realized it's common denominators. And we will add our whole numbers. 3 plus 2 is 5. Now let's add our numerators. 3 plus 1 is 4, and 5 and 4 out of 4, well, that's the same as a whole. So 5 plus 1 more would make it 6. Alright, let's add our whole numbers. 4 plus 3 is 7, and then we're going to add our numerators. 4 plus 1 is 5, keep our same denominator. 7 and 5/5 is the same as 8 whole. This one, we've got 9 plus 4, which equals 13. And then if I add my numerators, I get 3/3, and 13 and 3/3 is the same as 14. Let's add our whole numbers. 8 and 3 are 11, and 5 and 6 are 11. And I can change this now. I can say 7 will go into 11 at least one time, so take out 7/7, and so then I get 12 as my whole number, and when I subtract 7 from here, I have 4 left over, and I keep my same denominator of 7, so 12 and 4/7. Oh, this one looks funny because it's already improper. We'll keep our whole number of 3, and let's add our numerators. 15 plus 3 is 18 out of 8. Wow, we can put a lot of 8s in there. In fact, I think I can take 2. 2 8s would make it 16. So 3 becomes 5, and then if I take 16 out, I have 2 left over. 8 and 2/8, which can be reduced. I think I said 8 and 2/8, 5 and 2/8, which can be reduced to 5, and if I divide both of those by 2, I get 1/4. So 5 and 1/4, a lot of steps on that one. Let's add our whole numbers. 5 plus 4 is 9, and then our numerators. 5 plus 2 is 7, so 9 and 7/9, and we don't need to do anything with that one. It looks good just the way it is. These are nicely stacked up for us, just the way I like them when they're common, when the denominators are not common. Let's change this. Let's multiply it by 2 over 2, and I know some of you are doing this mentally now, so you don't have to write the 2 over 2 if you don't want to. And you get 6/8. Ugh, I don't know what I'm doing today. Let's add our whole numbers. 6 plus 2 is 8. Our numerators, 5 plus 6 is 11, and our denominator stays 8. We need to rearrange that one. I can take 8/8 out, and then our whole number becomes 9. And I get 3 left, and my denominator stays 8. So I get 9 3/8 on that one. This one, I can't change one to make the other, so I need to change both. I'm going to find a common denominator of 6 for this one. So 3 times 2 is 6, and 1 times 3 is 3. So 3/6 is the same as half. And let's change this one. 3 times 2 is 6, 2 times 2 is 4. So let's add our whole numbers. Now we've got our common denominator. So I've got 10 as a whole number, and 4 plus 3 is 7. So 10 and 7, 6. And with a little regrouping or rearranging, I can take a whole number out. So 10 becomes 11, and if I subtract 6 out of 6 from here, I've got 1 left over. So 11 and 1/6. Remember, if I'm going too fast, you can always pause the video. Trying to find a common denominator here. I'm counting up by my 12s. 12, 24. Ooh, let's go with 36, because I know 9 times 4 will be 36. And I think that was 3. 12, 24, 36. So 7 times 3 is 21. And it was 9 times 4 is 36. So 6 times 4 is 24. Alright, and now we can add our whole numbers. 4 plus 3 is 7. And our numerators, 24 plus 21 equals 45 out of 36. Crazy looking number. And I can take 36 out to get a whole number. And if I subtract 36 from here, 36, I think I have 9. And 9/36. And I think I know I can reduce this. I can divide them both by 9. And so I would get 8 and 1/4 for a final answer on that one. And now I'm running into my other problem over here. Common denominator, I'm seeing 20. You might find something smaller. I'm not seeing anything smaller though. 4 times 5 was 20. 3 times 5 is 15. 5 times 4 was 20. 4 times 4 is 16. Let's add our whole numbers. 5 plus 2 is 7. Add our numerators. 15 plus 16 is 31. Keep our denominator 20. I can take 20/20ths out of here, and then I get a whole number of 8. And if I subtract 20 from 31, I get a remainder of 11/20ths. So 8 and 11/20ths. Alright, and we can just do our dividing at the bottom. I'm going to fold this down. I'd like you to do most of this on your own, but I will help you with number 20. This one, it's truly practice. I want to see you do it. Same with that one. But this one, if you recall order of operations, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, or PEDMAS, stands for parentheses, exponents, multiplication or division, add or subtract. So that should help us kind of figure out which to do first. P comes first, so that would be parentheses. We must do this part here. So we'll do 590 times 5. 5 times 5 is 25, plus 4 more makes it 29. So we've got 2,950, and now we need to do the last step, 2,950, and we're going to divide it by 2. It should go evenly since it's an even number. And bring down the 5. 2 goes into 15 7 times, 7 times 2 is 14. We subtract and get 1. Bring down our 0. And 2 times 5 is 10. So 1,475 for an answer on that one. All right. Thanks for working with me today.